Merry meet. Welcome to Witch Magic. I'm Dawn, and I will be taking you on a spiritual journey to all things magic and witchcrafts. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Witch Magic. I hope you've been liking the show so far. This is going to be a good one as we dive into divination. There are so many forms of divination out there, and you really don't need to have any special skills to perform any of them, but some of them do take a little more practice than others. You may find that you like certain forms of divination way better than the other ones. Some might resonate better with you, others might not. You don't need to do or even study all of them. But there may be one or two forms that you feel comfortable working with. So let's get down to it. So probably the most popular kind of divination in witchcraft is the tarot. I'm sure everybody's heard of that. So tarot is the way to see the past, present, and future through a deck of cards. There are many different beautiful decks to choose from, and there are different ways to read them. A typical reading is to do a 3-card spread, which reads the past, present, and future. But there are also other spreads you can do, and each deck comes with a booklet to show you how to do them. The decks are divided into 2 groups, Major and Minor Arcana. The Major Arcana has 22 cards and refer to major influences and revelations. The Minor Arcana has 56 cards and is divided into the 4 suits: Wands, Swords, Pentacles, and Cups. Just like a deck of cards with the 4 suits, but it's a little bit different. So I'm going to be honest, I've never really connected with the tarot. I've tried many times. I've gotten a couple of different decks, and I just don't have any kind of connection to them. And that's okay, you know, but I have known others who have been very successful with them. So tarot is, like I said, probably the most popular form of divination in the craft. And I urge you to try it out if you're interested, you know. It doesn't hurt to give it a try. You know, for me, I don't know what it is. There's a lot to understand with it, and I don't know, I just can't really read the cards too good. So anyway, yeah, that's just me. But let me know how you do with it, if you've ever tried it, or, you know, if you've been very successful with it or not. You know, let me know. Anyway, another form of divination is another set of cards called oracle cards. Now, this is one of my favorites. So unlike the tarot, they're guides instead of like an outcome. So basically you ask a question, shuffle the cards, and see what card you come up with. And whatever card you choose gives you some type of guideline to get you to where you need to be regarding whatever your question was. Does that make sense? So like the tarot, there are many beautiful decks to choose from. My favorite deck has always been Healing with the Fairies by Doreen Virtue. And I have a very good reason for that and a story to go along with it. So I went to my local witch shop one time to buy items for a healing spell that I was doing for my youngest daughter. And when I got to the register and they were ringing up all my items, I noticed this box of cards on the counter. And I love fairies, and it had a picture of a fairy on it, and it said Healing with the Fairies. So I asked the ladies at the shop if they were tarot cards. And then one of the ladies explained to me that they were called oracle cards, and they were more like a guide. And she offered me to try them out. So she opened the box for me, and she handed me the cards. She told me to shuffle them until I felt I needed to stop shuffling. Then she told me to spread them out and feel the cards until I felt the one asking to be picked. I was a little unsure of this at first. So I asked her, how will I know when it's the card? And she kind of just nods at me with a little smile on her face and says, you'll know. I'm like, okay. So I shuffled the cards and I spread them out, I fanned them out, which was really hard because there's so many and it's hard to keep a hold of them. So it was kind of like, once I fanned them out, I was kind of like feeling along with my fingers, to each card and spreading them out a little bit more, so I can feel each one. So I was very uneasy because I had everyone in the shop was watching me. I had my family there with me, and I had the 2 ladies that worked at the shop, plus there were a couple of other customers in the store. So I was very nervous, and I didn't want to appear like I didn't know what I was doing or I wasn't a good witch or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I was very nervous and a little unsteady about it. So I knew I was shaking a little bit. But anyway, so suddenly it happened. I felt this tingling sensation go from the tips of my fingers all the way up my arm. And the ladies of the shop must have sensed the change in my demeanor because they nodded and smiled. So I slipped the card out of the deck, and it was the healing card. I couldn't believe it. I excitedly told them that I came here today to get the items for a healing spell that I was doing for my daughter. So that was a huge indicator to me that my spell is going to work. Oh my God, amazing, right? So needless to say, I also bought that deck of cards along with my other items. And I have had many successful readings with those cards. With, readings for myself, like daily readings that I would do like every morning. And I've also read for other people, and they came out really successful. Like I knew exactly what the cards were telling me to tell, the messages related to the person. So it was really nice. Anyway, you can do different spreads with the oracle cards, just like the tarot. But for the daily questions, like I mentioned, I would always just kind of shuffle them up and then pick the card off the top. You know what I mean? And that would be my daily. And another thing I like about those was they had like affirmations on them as well. So that was nice. So runes are another one of my favorite forms of divination. And there are different types of the runic alphabet, but my go-to one is the Elder Futhark. Elder Futhark. Runes are typically made of stone with one letter of the runic alphabet on each one. Runes come from a Nordic tradition, which is used for guidance just like the oracle cards. So usually when you buy a new set of runes, they come with a drawstring pouch to put them in. And that's where you also, kind of like mix them up and take the ones out that you need. And they also come with a booklet to tell you what the name of each rune is and what their meaning is. So you can also make your own. So just get some, get some stones or ceramic, and carve the runic alphabet on them, that'd be really cool. So basically what you do is you think about your question, and then you pull a rune or more out of the bag, depending on what kind of spread you're doing. The spreads also can go along with the cards. You can do like a 3-rune spread, a 5-rune spread. You can pick 1 rune. It depends on what you're going for, what kind of questions you want answered and how you want to go about it. And I always like to say a blessing to Odin before I even ask my question, because he's the one who discovered and learned to read the runes. So he actually sacrificed himself to learn how to read these runes. So we know how to read runes because of Odin. So I always, try to say a little blessing to him and ask for his guidance before I go on with the runes. And I've had very successful readings with the runes as well. And I sometimes use them alongside the oracle cards. And I remember this one time I was given a reading to my sister's friend who I've never met because I had already moved away by that time. I wasn't living around my hometown at that time. So I never met this new friend that she had. Didn't know anything about her or anything. And they called me on a 3-way call wanting a reading. And I told the girl, I said, okay, you can ask me, you could tell me what basic things you want to know about, but don't give me any details about anything. And to make a long story short, the reading came out perfect. I knew exactly what the runes and the oracle cards were trying to tell me to say to her. And my sister and her friend were like amazed. They couldn't believe that I knew all this information that I shouldn't have known, you know? And I'm not going to get into the details about it because it is a private reading, but it was amazing. And I just couldn't help but laugh because I was like, oh my gosh, these girls are like, you know, amazed at about the outcome and knowing that, oh my gosh, this really does work. She really knows what she's doing. So, but it's funny because a lot of the times with the runes, because there's so much meaning to the runes. So a lot of times when I do a reading with the runes, I might not exactly know what it's trying to tell me at first. So I always kept a rune journal. And when I had trouble, you know, getting the message, I would write down the runes that I drew, well, the question that I was asking, whether it was for myself or for another person. And then I would write the runes that I drew and and the meanings of them. So then later on, you know, if something happened that related to that question, I would go back to the journal and I would look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's what it was telling me then. You know, so it is amazing. It's really an amazing thing. So anyway, let's move on to other forms of divination. So scrying is a thing that can be done in many different ways. So you can look through a crystal ball, a black mirror, or some dark water. Pretty much anything that reflects on a dark surface. So the object of scrying is to get messages or meanings. It takes patience, time, and relaxation. I've only tried it a couple of times, but I really haven't had much luck with it. So if you've done it and have been successful, I would love to hear what you have to say about it. You can connect with me on my Facebook group or send me an email. I have the links on my podcast channel, and I try to get them on the show notes as much as possible too. But yeah, I would love to hear what you have to say about scrying, because it's something that I've always wanted to be able to do. And like I said, I've tried it a couple of times, but aside from getting little glimpses of things, you know, I couldn't help but wonder if I was just seeing reflections of something in the room, or, you know, if I wasn't really seeing what I was supposed to see. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if you have any helpful tips or suggestions on that, I would love to hear about that. And maybe I can mention it on a later episode, you know, the way that you helped and everything like that. So I would love to mention that. So another thing are pendulums. Pendulums are a lot of fun. I love my pendulum. So they're very successful. It's a very successful tool for yes or no questions. So I've always had great results from my pendulum, and you can purchase one, which I've done, or you can make your own. So I recommend programming it before you use it though. And the way to program it is just let the pendulum know which way to swing for yes and which way for no. You know, like my pendulum came with a little cardboard square piece that had a picture of a pentagram on it. And on one side it said yes, on one side it said no. And I don't have it with me right now, so, and I think one of the, like a top part or something said maybe or something. But anyway, you program it and you say, all right, swing left for no, or swing left for whatever the way the directions are. And then make sure that it swings. You want to hold it at the top of the chain or the rope, whatever you use for it, very lightly. Just lightly between your thumb and your forefinger. Like you want to be barely feeling it in your finger, all right? And you want to make sure that your arm is steady. So I always like to rest my elbow on a table or a hard surface while holding the pendulum with my thumb and forefinger. And that's always been very helpful to me. so that I'm not like shaking and it's swinging, when it's not supposed to be. So that's a method you can try. It works very well. So there are going to be times when the pendulum doesn't really know how to answer. So you might want to try rephrasing your question. That usually does the trick. Sometimes you might have to come back to it. You might have to say, all right, you know what? The gods and goddesses, the spirits, whatever's not answering me right now. So I'm going to come back to it when I'm more focused maybe, and see if that helps. So I've always loved the pendulum. That's a really cool tool. So reading tea leaves is another common way to read into someone's future. So all the recipient has to do is drink the full cup of tea, and whatever leaves remain in the bottom of the cup forms an image. And there are books out there that help you interpret the images and their meanings. So I've never read tea leaves myself, to be honest with you, but I find it very fascinating. I think it's a very magical thing. And then drinking tea, drinking tea is a lovely thing to do if you like tea, hopefully. Get a flavor that you do like, I guess. So, yeah, so that's pretty cool. And let's not forget about meditation. So meditating is another great way to receive messages. Just learn how to clear your mind and focus on your breathing, and the answers will come to you if you're patient and willing. And I will do a meditation episode later on. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe we could go through like a little meditation together. I think that'll be fun. Let me know what you think about that. So if you want, I can focus on all or some of these types of divination individually in future episodes. Just let me know what you think. Also, please let me know what you would like for me to cover on the show. In this first season, I'm all about starting out with the basics, for beginners, how to get started, and introducing you to magical tools and other things to do with magic. But I would love to hear your feedback on what else you would like to know about and what you would like to hear about. So reach out to me on my Facebook group called Witch Magick. Check out my website, Witch Magick. You can send me an email and let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to hear about. Let me know how you like the show so far. You can also show your support by giving me a 5-star rating and a review on either Apple Podcasts, Google, or Amazon. I'm also on Podbean, but that's where I based my channel on. So wherever you listen to this, please give me a 5-star review, and share with your friends. Share my podcast channel and get it out there in the world for me. That would be awesome. And come join us at Facebook. I also just recently opened up a new Instagram page with Witch Magick. So just to let you know, don't be alarmed that there's only a few members in each thing, because like I said, I just started these out. So, hopefully the group will get more members and it'll grow and we'll have a nice, lovely community and everything like that. All right, that's all I have for you today. So I will get in touch with you guys next week. So that's going to do it for today. I will be airing these podcasts about once a week, so be sure to tune in. You might want to choose to get notified when I air so that you don't miss a thing. If you have any comments, please feel free to connect with me on my Facebook group. I will leave the link to that along with my website on the show notes. Blessed be.